Okay. So today let me talk about Python and SQLite. I mean how to connect SQLite database management system with Python. Now talking about SQLite is basically a RDBMS system. RDBMS stands for Relational Database Management System. Now this RDBMS system uses SQL commands for accessing a database. Now, when it comes to an RDBMS system, most of the RDBMS system which is available in the market usually uses a client-server approach. That means there will be a separate process which will be running the server, and then we have the client process which will be utilizing the different functionalities given by the server. This is how RDBMS works. Example of such RDBMS is SQL Server. Then we have MySQL, which is very popular. We have Oracle. This is also very popular. So these are a few traditional relational database management system. SQLite is a serverless architecture. Basically, what it means is it doesn't require a separate process or a separate server for it to be executed. It remains basically embedded within a program. So that means SQLite is a library of a relational database management system. It remains embedded within a program. However, the user can use the different functionalities, rather facilities provided by a RDBMS. So today we are going to see how we can connect SQLite database with Python and how we are going to manipulate the data. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do three things. The first thing what we are going to learn is how to create a database, followed by inserting or creating a table inside the database, followed by inserting data into that particular table. This is the first thing what we are going to do. The second approach what we are going to do is how we are going to update the table which we have created. A certain record we want to modify or change the content of a certain record inside the table. The second program is going to do that. And the third program which we are going to learn is for the same table, we are going to learn how to remove a particular record. So these three things, which are the basics of any relational database management system, we are going to learn how to do it with Python. And remember, SQLite is a module already present in Python. So you do not require any separate installation for it. It's already there. When you install Python, it's already there. And let's see how we can connect Python with a SQLite database. Now, my primary purpose first for this particular program, which we are going to develop right now, is we are going to create a table named student inside a database named school, where we are going to store the roll number and names of students. Simple. The roll number and names that we are going to store will be taken from the user, and then we are going to store it into the table. So the first thing what we need to do is we need to call the module which is responsible for giving us the SQLite library package. So what we are going to do is we are going to write import SQLite 3. There is no space between SQLite and 3. It's a single word because this is the third version of SQLite relational database management system library. So first what you need to do is, before we use any of the SQLite functionalities, we need to import the SQLite 3 module inside our Python program. The next step is we need to establish a connection with the database inside the SQLite. So as mentioned earlier, we are going to create a database named school, and what we are going to do is we are going to establish first a connection with this particular database named school. You don't need to worry if the database already exists. It will not recreate it. It's simply going to establish a connection, and if the database do not exist, it's going to create this particular database and then establish a connection. So let me take a variable called on for connection, and then we write this function SQLite3 dot connect, and then we give the name of the database. So connect is a function which is used to establish a connection between the SQLite database with the Python program. So let's name it as school.db. DB is just an extension to indicate that it's a database. Next, what we are going to do is we are going to create a cursor out of this connection. Now, what is a cursor? Cursor is generally used to derive the result set from a particular table in case you provide a query. In case you see, whenever you are going to use a relational database management system, so naturally you will be querying from that particular table. So in that case, we require a cursor to be created. So how do we do that? We'll take a variable called cursor and we use the connection variable con.cursor. This is the name of the function which is going to create a cursor type variable named cur. Now what we are going to do is we are going to create the table named student inside the school database. So connection dot execute. I am keeping the functions or commands very minimal so that you can understand how to do the connection. Create table. We can directly write create table school. I believe, in fact, I assume that you understand how to write SQL queries or SQL commands, how to use it. So create table is a command for creating a table where we store data. So here create table, we can write student and then followed by the usual fields which we are, or attributes which we are going to store inside this table named student. Now there may be a situation where you need to again call this particular program. So in that case, it's going to again create the table named student. Now the problem is, earlier when you executed this particular program, it had already created the table named student. So what we do is, we don't need to create it further, and to eradicate any possibility of error, what we do is we write create table if not exists. That means in case it do not exist from before, let the name of the table be student, followed by the parenthesis, and now we are going to define the fields which is required for the SQLite table. That is roll number, in our case roll number, which we can assume to be of integer of size 4, followed by name of varchar type, and only that much. So this is the command for creating the SQLite table named student if the table do not exist. That means if we are running this program for the first time, it's going to definitely create the table, but any subsequent execution of the program will no longer create the table anymore. So that's the advantage of using this command if not exists. I assume that you already know about these commands because you must have learned it when using SQL. Now what we are going to do is, the table is created, the table named student is created. Now we are going to store the data or the records into this particular table named student, where we are going to accept the roll number and names which we are going to insert into the table from the user. So for simplicity, let's do something. Let me take 4 roll numbers and names. So we can use a for loop for I in range 1 to 5. That means this particular loop is going to run 4 times from 1 to 4. And first what we are going to do is we are going to accept the roll number into a variable R. My primary intention is to accept the roll number and name and then store it into this particular table named student. Input, I can give a message, enter a roll number. Similarly, I can accept a name. Name is a string, so therefore no need of any conversion. Now we accepted the roll number and name from the user. Now the only thing what we are left out is we are going to store it or insert it into the table named student. Now we already know that in SQL there is a command called insert into. So we are going to use this command called insert into for storing the roll number and name. Now look at the way we do it. Again, the connection dot execute. Execute is the function to execute any SQL query. We can write insert into student values and then we put 2 question marks. Now what I mean is, insert into student values, we are going to insert the roll number and name depending upon these 2 particular fields. Now these 2 question marks will be filled up with the content of a tuple. In our case, inside the tuple, we'll have the roll number and name. So the simplest way of doing that is, we put R, N. Just within parenthesis, you put the 2 variables. So we created a tuple which will have roll number and name as its content. So this is how we insert the values, that is roll number and name, into the table named student. So the first value inside the tuple, that is R, will get inserted into the first question mark, that is the first roll number will get inserted, and the second element of the tuple, that is N, which contains the name of the student, will get inserted into this particular, the second question mark, to insert the name of the student. So this process will continue 4 times, and naturally 4 records or 4 roll numbers and names will get inserted into the table named student. Now, so far fine. What we need to do is, now we need to save the content. That means we have done this, it is yet to be saved. So we'll use the command or function called commit. This is outside the loop. The commit function is going to save the changes made to the table. Otherwise, it will not be saved. Now, this part is already done. What we are going to do right now is, we are going to see the content of this particular table named student. So now we require the functionality of the cursor. So we write dot execute select star from student. So this is the query. The query, I am inserting it into the cursor variable named cur, because we need the result set, that is all the records which gets inserted into the table. I want it inside the variable cur so that I can display it to the user. So the next is, we can take a variable, say rs, just to represent the result set, that is the record set of this particular query, and we write cur dot fetch all. This is the name of the function which is going to fetch or draw all the records which follows this query. So naturally in this case there is no condition. We can also use the where clause, remember, like in SQL. So this is going to draw all the content from the student table and then store it into the result set named rs. In case you want to see the content of the rs, each record, we can use a loop for I in rs, and then you can write print I. So this is going to display each of the roll numbers and names that you stored out here. And then obviously the entire thing is done. Now we need to close the connection so that we can re-establish a connection with the database in a separate program or in a separate process. So how do we do that? Connection dot close. Connection dot close. The close function is basically not only used to close the database system, it is also used to release the memory of the connection. That is connection of the school.db database from this particular program. So this is how we simply create a table and then insert records into it. So next day when you come, in case you want to see all the records, you can simply use this execute function where we use the query select star from student and then fetch all, it's going to fetch all the records, and using a loop you can display each of the content. So each record from this particular table named student will be displayed inside a tuple. Now the next program, what we are going to do is, we are going to learn how to change or update the content of the table named student. So what we are going to do right now is, we are going to accept a roll number from the user and accept a new name from the user. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to search for this particular roll number inside the table named student. If it matches, we are going to change the name with the new name taken from the user. So the first thing what we need to do is, this three lines will remain as it is. And we don't need to create the table once again, because it's already created, it's already saved. So let me accept the roll number which I want to search inside this particular table named student. So first, obviously establish a connection, create the cursor, and now accept the roll number from the user which you want to change. Enter a roll number. Now let me also accept the name with which I want to change the earlier name. And a new name. Let me give this message. Now what we are going to do is, we are going to use the con variable for executing the query using the update statement, which you must have earlier learned by using SQL. So we'll write con dot execute update name of the table, that is student, set name equal to, we'll put a question mark because this is variable content, that is n, which I want to insert. Name equal to this, where role equal to this. So this is the query which we are going to insert. Now here the tuple will contain n comma r. I'll tell you the significance of this. What I'm doing is, I'm accepting a roll number whose name I want to change, and n is the variable where I accept the new name to replace the earlier name, and here I'm issuing this particular command using the execute function update student set name equal to, the first question mark will be replaced with the first content of the tuple, that is n. So look at this. So name equal to n, and what does n contain? The value of the new name. Where role equal to second question mark. The second question mark will get replaced with the second content of the tuple, that is r. R is the roll number whose name you want to change, the corresponding name which you want to change. That's it, that's done. Now we are going to commit the work to save the changes. So how do we do that? We write on dot commit Once this is done, the changes are saved. Now, if you, in case you want to see the content of the table, we can use the cursor variable. We can issue the same command which we have given earlier. Select star from student. And now we can write rs to get the result set. Cursor dot fetch all. The fetch all function, you might be remembering, will fetch all the records which follow this particular query. Now we can use a for loop to display each of the content of the result set. So for I in rs print I. So now you can see the updated content of the table named student. And after all that, we need to close the connection dot close. That's it. So this is the function, or rather the program in Python, which is used to update the content of an existing table. Now what we are going to do is, we are going to learn how to remove a particular record from a table. In the sense that what I'm going to do is, I'm going to accept a roll number which we want to remove from the table. And this particular roll number, what we are going to do, we are going to remove it from that particular table and see the content of the table, whether the removal process has occurred or not. So let me make few changes in this particular program. So this time we do not require to accept the name at all. We accept a roll number, and after accepting the roll number, what we are going to do is, we are going to execute an SQL command. Remember the delete command of the SQL, which is used to remove a particular record from a particular table. So we'll use this con.execute once again. And here is the SQL query, delete from name of the table, that is student, where roll equal to, again question mark, because this is the R which we are supposed to put inside. And here we have a tuple with a single content. Remember the comma out there. Even if there is a single content of a tuple, do not forget that comma. Otherwise, it will be treated as a mathematical expression within parentheses. So it will result in error. So con.execute, delete from student where roll equal to question mark. This question mark will get replaced with R. And what does R contain? The roll number which is accepted from the user. So that particular roll number, if it exists in this particular table named student, will be removed from the table. And after removal, we need to commit it. Please do not forget it, otherwise the changes are not going to work. So the commit function is used, and now to see the content, you can use the usual execute select start from student, use the fetch all function and display the entire content of the table to see the changes, whether it has got reflected or not. So if the roll number exists in the student table, it is definitely going to get removed and it will be displayed out here.